Hello boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen and germs, whatever you are, we are an equal opportunity podcast. You can be anything you damn like, but welcome to the show, the RR show, the best show on the internet. I am your host Andy, and today we are going to be jumping into r/a glitch in the matrix. But before we do that, a quick reminder to make sure you have headed over to our YouTube and subscribed. Reason being, not only are there awesome videos over there that are not on the podcast and made specifically for video and just kick ass in my opinion, but we're also now doing live streams, hopefully once a week. We did one yesterday. By the time this goes out, it won't be yesterday anymore. So make sure you're over there so you can catch those if you are interested in that sort of thing. But without further ado, grab your tea and your popcorn and let's jump right in with our first story from Tanya Hallian. I glitched into a different timeline's bathroom. So this past winter, I, 27 female, went to my mum on vacation to a very small town in the middle of a huge ecological park that consists of kilometers upon kilometers of desert. It's not the first time we've gone there on vacation. We just love how calm and quiet it is, the beautiful scenery and the kind people who live in that town. Now, since it's a very small town, there's just one hotel with 5 rooms and 3 bathrooms. 2 of the 3 bathrooms are inside the restaurant that's attached to the hotel, and to get to them from any of the rooms you have to pass various sets of doors. Because of this, at night we only used the other bathroom, which was a metal door on the other side of a small patio. I remember that the first day at the hotel I went to the bathroom, and when I tried to close the door, I couldn't fully close it because there was a crack on the wall the door was attached to. There had been an earthquake a few years prior, which was probably the culprit for the crack, since the last time we'd stayed at that hotel, many years ago, it wasn't there. As a result, we had to tie a string from the lock to a nail on the inside of the bathroom in order to close it. And even then, it never fully closed. It annoyed me, but we weren't paying much, and we were the only ones staying at the hotel anyways. Well, here's where the glitch happened. It was our 3rd day staying at the hotel, and we had just come back from a walk up a nearby mount. Very small, the walk barely lasted an hour. It was still fairly early night, around 10 PM, and my mum said she was going to get ready for bed. I told her to go ahead because I wanted to stargaze for a little while, taking advantage of the cloudless sky. And I did so for about half an hour or so before deciding it was time to also get ready for bed. I went to our room, got my toothbrush and toothpaste, and went to the bathroom. As soon as I stepped inside, everything felt off. I reached for the light switch, but it wasn't there. I searched for it to no avail, and then, when my eyes got used to the darkness, I saw it was on the opposite wall, the one that had a crack, except when I turned on the light, I realized that there was no crack. It was as if, for the time I took to wash my teeth, I was in an alternate timeline in which the earthquake didn't happen. The wall didn't crack and the light switch wasn't moved to another wall. It was a very surreal experience, and the more I stayed there, the more nervous I became. So I hurried up, turned off the light, and pretty much sprinted towards my room. My mum was already asleep, so I decided not to bother her. But it took a while before I could sleep because I was feeling very unnerved. The next day, with sun now illuminating everything, I went back to check on the bathroom that had scared me so much the previous night. But it was exactly as it should be, crack and all. I haven't been able to make sense of this situation despite how much thought I've given it. Our next story today is from Disturbed Serenity, glitch/time slip. This was the weirdest experience I have had to date, and I still get choked up and emotional when I think about it. It was 2010 and I was 25 years old, living at home with my very supportive parents who were helping me through college, after previously dropping out of high school and having 2 amazing children. It was an early autumn afternoon, around 4 to 5 PM. I was in my room doing some homework on my laptop at my desk. The desk faced the wall directly across from my bed, and my older style box TV was on top of the dresser to the left of my desk, about 2 feet away. I was, as usual, procrastinating, doing my homework, so I was mindlessly watching some dumb TV show. Because my TV was so close, I stood up instead of using the remote to change the volume on my TV. As I reached out my left hand to press the button, as if a switch flipped, my entire environment changed. This affects me still to this day. I still feel in my soul that something strange happened. I didn't hallucinate. It was real. I was back in my childhood home, some 20 miles away and seemingly 18 years in the past. I was standing in front of the only hallway closet in the one-bedroom house I grew up in. The house was over 100 years old, and the closet was one of those with the doors that slid open on tracks. You know, the ones that doors never go back on the tracks, right? So you've got to be careful how you open it. Anyway, the door to the closet was open, and my already outstretched left arm was reaching toward a very distinct item. When I was little, my mother had this perfume bottle that, for some reason, I was absolutely in love with. The perfume itself was cheap and didn't smell particularly good to me. The bottle was glass and shaped like a bird, maybe a dove. Its wings were up and outstretched. It was beautiful, but it had a broken wing. I probably broke it, being curious and clumsy as, children are. So there I was, one moment in my somewhat modern bedroom in 2010, the next in the old one across the county. Back in time, 18 years. I was there. I saw the bird bottle. I was within inches of grabbing it. My heart melted for that dumb little bottle of stinky perfume shaped like a one-winged dove. Oh my god, I swear this is not a Fleetwood Mac song. Before my hand could actually make physical contact with that precious bird, the switch flipped again. I was back in front of my TV, outstretched left hand and all. My mind could not comprehend what had just happened, and I felt immediately sick and dizzy. I was in such a state of shock and confusion that I just walked out of my room, down the hall, into the living room, and out into the front yard. I could do nothing but lurch over, hands on my knees, and try desperately to catch my breath. But mostly my sanity. This experience was so jarring, so real, I was physically in front of that open closet reaching for that damn bird bottle. Then I wasn't. I was particularly stressed out about classes. It was community college. I'm not prone to hallucinations and was stone cold sober when I experienced this. I've only told a few people because honestly the subject of momentarily teleporting through time and space doesn't come up in conversation all that often, and I only know a few people that I can tell. Has anyone else had anything like this happen? I still have no explanation, and it might have just been a weird break in psyche. But it was not a dream, and I was not under the influence of anything or under any unusual stress. It's astounding. Time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll. But listen closely, not for very much longer. I've got to keep control. If you know that song, you are a confirmed legend. And yes, before the comments pour in, I am aware my singing kills kittens. But hey, it seemed like an appropriate thing for this episode. Anyway, moving on to our somewhat next story from u/Huntington44. I've been seeing the same guy at random for over 20 years all over creation. This is a topic that has questioned my sanity and haunted me for years and years. I've been seeing the same man since I was in my late teens. I'm 38 now. I started seeing him in random places around the age of 17. I live in a heavily populated area and I have lived all over the tri-state area. I've seen him in parking lots, I've seen him in stores, I've seen him at events, but the craziest one was I saw him at a destination wedding in St. Martin about 10 years ago. I approached him at the wedding and asked him if he'd been following me for years because I see him all over the place. As you can imagine, the conversation immediately became one of the awkwardest ones I've ever been a part of. He kinda laughed and shrugged it off, but I could tell he was seeing me all over the place also. There's been spans over a year or 2 years where I don't see him whatsoever and it seems like it comes in waves. My life has changed considerably, as you can imagine, since the age of 17, and I have a wife and child. My most recent sightings of the guy was in a store called Bye Bye Baby. I was buying things for my newborn. Within the same month, I saw him at Home Depot about 30 miles away. Every time this happens, he pretends like he doesn't see me, but I can tell he's as sketched out as I am. The last sighting of this guy was a couple of months ago in the store for baby stuff, and that was the final straw. I'm telling you, if I see this guy again, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I don't care what it takes. It's something I have pondered over for so long, and like I said, I question my own sanity. I'm also male, and for frame of reference, the guy that I've been seeing is a lot older than me. But it seems like he hasn't aged a bit, as crazy as that sounds. Like I said, I know the man's real. I've talked to him, face to face. But that still doesn't make me question my own sanity. Okay, our next story is from PMME Birthday Dogs. My whole life is different, and no one believes me. This Wednesday, February 5th, on the way to work, I went to my usual gas station. I go there every day, 5 days a week. I go in, everything's different. All new drink stations have been installed and the food area is completely redone. None of this was different Tuesday morning, and I couldn't believe that they'd redone a gas station in one night. I then go outside and see that 2 gas pumps are completely gone, and there is mulch bags stacked taking up the space. None of this was there the day before. I then leave and head to work and somehow turn on the wrong street and get lost. I've been driving these neighborhoods for months, and suddenly I'm lost trying to find my job. I get to work a few minutes later, I'm panicking. I know it's silly, but I've always feared changing timelines. My fiance and I have a timeline safe word, so we know we're together. I call and ask him, and he has no idea what I'm talking about. We just talked about it at the end of January, and we've had it established for a while. I've even woken him up at night and asked him after having a nightmare and he's known. But now he has no idea what I'm talking about. Then the girls start coming downstairs. I work in an addictions group home, and one girl keeps saying how confused she is and how nothing makes sense today. Later in the day, another kept saying all she wanted to do was cry and she had no idea why. Then, while running errands, I go down the same street I always do, and suddenly there are 4 houses gone and a grove of trees planted. I've never seen them before and really started freaking. They're next to a building my family owned for the last 20 years. I know the whole neighborhood. My final straw was calling my mum today. She said my sister was going out tonight with her friend Jenna. I've known Jenna since 2003. I asked how much longer until Jenna has a baby. My mum goes silent and asks what the heck I'm talking about. She says she's never been pregnant. I look her up online. Nothing. I asked my sister just half an hour ago and she laughed in my face and says Jenna is infertile and will never have kids. I literally remember the day that my sister told me she was pregnant. She told me to guess who, and Jenna was my third guess. What the hell is happening to my life? Next story is from Ann Nian. My dad's life was saved by a man in the glitch. This is from 10 years ago. I was in school and used to live in a small town in India. My dad had a business for which he had to frequently travel to the national capital. The only train that would arrive back to town the same day from the capital would arrive in the nearest city 20 kilometers away by 10 p.m. So this one time he was coming back from the city after arriving from the capital. My dad's brother, my uncle, was also in the same train, but he decided to come back home in a bus. And since my dad had taken his scooter to the train station, he was going to ride back home. There was a neighbor's kid who asked my dad for a ride back home, and my dad agreed. There were no streetlights working that day. It was very dark and the area is full of industrial vehicles. Unfortunately, there was a big trailer, trucks that carried cars, etc., parked on the main road diagonally. With no street lights and a speed of 50 to 60 kilometers an hour, my dad's scooter bumped right into the trailer, and the front of the scooter literally crushed. It was a horrible accident. The neighbor's kid, luckily and magically, was safe and didn't have a single scratch on him. Some vehicles kept passing, but no one stopped to help. Then came a big black SUV. A man in his late 30s stepped out and with the neighbor's kid help, pulled my dad into the back of the car and took him to the nearest hospital. Meanwhile, my uncle's bus was passing by the accident site and he recognized the scooter was my dad, so he left immediately for the nearest hospital to check if anyone's admitted dad. My uncle met the man who helped my dad, asked for his name and where he was from, thanked him for his help, and then the man left. The doctor said had the person not helped bring my dad to the hospital, he would have died of blood loss for sure. My dad was in the ICU for 25 odd days. He recovered in the next 4 to 5 months, and we really wanted to thank the man who helped. Since my uncle had already asked for his name and place, my dad asked around, and one of our relatives happened to know the man since their wife and that man were from the same town. My dad and mum went to meet the man, and he had the same name, same place of stay, same car, and he said, "Thank you for bringing me these flowers and sweets, but I don't remember helping you at all. In fact, the date that you mentioned, I wasn't out of my house that day all day." We were all so spooked, and for some time we kept thinking this has to be a joke or something. But my uncle confirmed that he saw that exact man. Has to be the biggest glitch in my life. To date, we don't know who saved my father.